Hi and welcome to the demo of the Tradebox software. The purpose of the video is to go through the main features and benefits of Tradebox and describe what it can do for your online business. So the first thing to discuss is the software. Tradebox is a desktop application, so it installs on your PC and it will integrate with sales channels such as eBay, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento, EKM, Limworks, Shopify, Amazon FBA and Amazon Merchant, and also has a CSV importer, and it integrates with either Zero or Sage 50 accounts. So today we're going to be demonstrating an integration between WooCommerce and Sage 50. In terms of compatibility, the software works with Windows 10 and Windows 11 and Windows Server 2016 onwards. But to keep on top of the compatibility, if you come to the Tradebox website and choose support, and then come down to system requirements, this will give you an up-to-date list of the system requirements to use Tradebox. If you want to speak to us at any time to discuss the video or the benefits of Tradebox, if you come to the website and click on contact, fill out the request form, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, so as I say, today we're going to be looking at integrating WooCommerce orders. So here is our WooCommerce test website backend with a selection of orders there, and we're going to be putting that into Sage 50. So our Sage 50 systems here, if we look, we've got no sales orders, no invoices, no transactions. And so the purpose of Tradebox is to plug into WooCommerce and get those orders and put them into Sage. So here's Tradebox. We've got different tabs across the top. The one we're currently looking at is the channels tab, and this holds all of the integrations for the different channels that we integrate with. And within each channel, we set up rules of how we're going to speak to that platform and how we're going to download orders from that platform. And then also within that channel, how we're going to send those orders to our chosen account software. So starting from left to right, we've got the orders screen. Our orders are going to download from WooCommerce into this screen, and then they can either be sent to Sage automatically, or we can change a setting within Tradebox to allow us to post them manually. So that puts you in a little bit more control, which is quite popular when you first start using the software. We have a product section. The product section is basically a copy of all of the products in Sage. So if I was to add a new product into Sage, it would get pulled into this grid. If my stock levels change in Sage for whatever reason, whether they increase because I've taken a delivery or they decrease because we've made sales, those stock levels will be pulled into this grid. And you have the opportunity or the option within Tradebox to pass those stock levels, those amended stock levels, back to the products on your website or eBay or Amazon. Next, we have the shipping tab. The shipping tab will give us a list of all of our unshipped orders, and we can select them and mark them as dispatched within this grid. It will mark them as dispatched on the sales platform and then trigger any transaction emails that you have set up on that sales platform. The report section contains a section of reports. There's no data in Tradebox at the moment, so there's nothing to report upon. So we'll circle back to that. And then we have the channel section. So in terms of accounting, Tradebox can do granular accounting, or it can do summary accounting. I'm going to demonstrate both of those today. One of the options that we have in Tradebox is a CSV importer. So this one is entitled TikTok Shop. We don't have an API integration with TikTok Shop, but the orders we're going to be importing for the sake of this demonstration, we've labeled as TikTok Shop orders. So effectively, we can import anything as long as the file, the CSV file, is in a compatible format, and we can share templates with you so you can assist you to get those orders in. Okay, so let's have a look at one of the channels. We're going to do WooCommerce, as we said. So I'm going to double click on the channel, and the first set of settings are all about how we get orders down from, in this case, WooCommerce. So the channel has a name, which we've called WooCommerce, and then we've got the API connection details. So with certain channels, you've got to go and create the API connection details on the back end. So in the case of WooCommerce, we have to go into the settings at the back of WooCommerce and create some API keys. And then we put these API keys into the channel in Tradebox, and that allows us to communicate with WooCommerce. Other channels like, for example, eBay or Amazon, the token generation is done via our software. And then we have a different set of settings on the right hand side. So I've told Tradebox to ignore orders prior to the 1st of May. It's a useful setting because if you're going to start using Tradebox, you're going to be transiting from maybe a manual system into using Tradebox. And obviously Tradebox doesn't know what orders you've already accounted for within your software. So to prevent duplication, we would set up a transition date. So in this case, I'm going to ignore everything prior to the 1st of May. I've told Tradebox to go back 60 days, and even though I'm going to go back 60 days, it will only download orders from the 1st of May, and it will only download orders that it hasn't previously downloaded. So once an order is in Tradebox, it recognizes that order's been downloaded. It won't download it again. The next tab is a set of VAT settings. So kind of our standard VAT settings will be, we'll be looking at the tax on the product. So is it a non-vatable item or a vatable item? And then also where it's been shipped to in the world. And there are a further set of settings for sales that are going into the EU. The statuses tab. So the statuses tab allows you to determine the orders you're going to download from your website based upon the order status. So we've told Tradebox that the order status on WooCommerce of processing, we've mapped that to an internal status of paid, and I've ticked the download box. So we're telling Tradebox to download paid or processing orders. And we've done the same for completed orders, but pending orders which are unpaid, we've told Tradebox not to download them. And in the lower half of this screen, it's the same kind of settings. This is about the orders that are going to go to your account software. So again, we've told Tradebox that we want paid orders and completed orders to be allowed to be posted to our account software. In this case, it's Sage 50, but it could be 0 accounts. So those are the settings in Tradebox to speak to WooCommerce and how we're going to download orders from WooCommerce. We're then going to click on the Sage 50 tab. This connects us to Sage. I'm going to step back to the Connection tab. The Connection tab gives me a list of all of the companies within my Sage data, including Demo and Practice. And then it allows me to connect to that Sage company. You'll notice that we have a login here called TB user and TB service. So one of the requirements, and this is just for Sage 50, is that in Sage 50 you would come to settings, user management, and you would set up a user, one called TB user, one called TB service, and Tradebox will use those Sage users to communicate backwards and forwards with Sage 50. Now these don't count against your Sage user license. So if you have a 3 user license for Sage 50, these 2 users are not going to count against that allocation because we don't connect to Sage via the user interface. We use what's called the Sage Data Objects, or SDO, and which is like Sage's connector that they provide for third parties to speak to Sage. Okay, so back to Tradebox. The first sub-settings for our accounts integration is postings. So we can see that the sales currency is GBP, and I'm posting in GBP. If the sales currency was euros or dollars, I could download in that currency, but then I can either post to Sage in euros or dollars, or I could convert to GBP. In terms of invoice creation, there are a number of options. So the first 3, product invoices, service invoices, sales orders. These will create individual invoices in Sage, and this is what we would term granular invoicing. So we create an invoice for each individual order in Sage. Product invoices and sales orders are linked to stock, which means that the SKU will appear on the invoice, and when it gets updated in Sage, it will get depleted in the product list in Sage. And this allows us to have stock control. We then have summary entries. So effectively what a summary entry is Tradebox will allows you to create a summary based upon a single sales channel. So you could say, for example, gather together all of my eBay orders for the month of May, and Tradebox will create you the minimum number of invoices for all of those orders. So that's based upon payment method. So for example, if you had 1,000 orders and they were paid for using PayPal or Stripe, then Tradebox would create you 2 invoices, one for Stripe and one for PayPal. So I'm going to use product invoices, which will allow us to see stock levels being moved. And then further on the right, we have an option called process BOM transfers. So if you don't know what a BOM is, let me just demonstrate that. In Sage, we have a product here called Cricut Set, and it has zero quantity in stock. So the Cricut Set is actually made up of different products. So if I go to the bill of materials, we can see that this Cricut Set is made up of one Cricut bag, two Cricut balls, two Cricut bats, and two Cricut stumps. What the process bomb transfer option does is, when we download an order, Tradebox recognizes that the SKU is actually a bill of materials in Sage, and it will transfer all of those component parts into the bill of materials product to make it up for the required quantity. So that's just another task that you don't have to do. Add message line, that if there is a message that's left by the buyer at checkout, we can add that to the body of the invoice. Update invoices to ledgers. So we're going to create the invoices, and we can either update them to the ledgers automatically, and what that will do is it will pay the invoice off and it will put it against the customer account and it will decrement the stock. Or you can have that unticked, in which case that means that you've got to manually update the invoices to the ledgers yourself. And then finally, we've got another option here about don't post orders prior to. So again, I've told Tradebox not to create any invoices in Sage prior to the 1st of May. Customers. There are two ways we can deal with customers. One is we can use a single default customer. So in this case, I've created a customer in Sage called WooCommerce. Tradebox will still create individual invoices for me, and the invoice will be in the name and address, the billing address, the shipping address of the buyer. But when that invoice is updated, it will sit against one single account. Alternatively, you can do individual customers for each unique buyer. And so Tradebox will create you an individual customer account in Sage for each unique buyer. And it does that based upon, we have a mask here. The ampersands here, the first 5 characters of the company name. And if the company name doesn't exist, it will go down and use the secondary field, in this case, which is surname, followed by an incremental number. So if Tradebox were to purchase, it would be trade 001, unless that already existed in your account software, in which case it would be trade 002, and so on. Then there are options for auto match and manual match. If I choose auto match, what Tradebox will do is it will look at the email and the postcode in the order, the billing address of the order that we've downloaded, and it will search through my customer list in Sage to see if there's a match of both of those elements. And if both of those elements match, it will use that existing Sage customer account. This is not 100% accurate. It can't be, because everyone has multiple emails. So it could be that in Sage, the customer account has the buyer's work email, but they've purchased using their personal email, in which case it wouldn't match it to that customer account. There is a manual match option. This is used where basically the order comes into Tradebox. Tradebox places that order into query and requires you to tell Tradebox which customer in Sage that buyer belongs to. And so you manually match them together, click on save. Once that's done, it will never ask you about that buyer again, but it gives you the chance to actually 100% accurately make sure it's going to the correct customer account. Okay, I'm going to switch this back to single default customer. Nominals. So nominals in Sage, by default, Tradebox will use the nominal on the product record. So just to demonstrate that, if we go back to Sage, we can see here in this nominal code column, this product is 4022, this is 4023, 4021, 4024. And this is where I've created a structure in my nominal list based upon the kind of products that I'm selling. So like sporting goods, office equipment, stationery. And so we'll use that by default unless you tick this box here. So I've ticked this override product nominal, and I'm telling Tradebox to put all of my sales income to 4006 and all of my carriage income to 4905. I could quite as easily put the carriage income to 4006 as well and have everything that comes through the WooCommerce channel going to 4006. Receipts. So again, there's two ways we can deal with receipts. One is we can choose none, and that means when the invoice gets updated to the ledgers, the debt will sit against the customer account. You'd need to manually collect it in a chosen bank account. If you turn sales receipts on, we can post the sales receipt into the nominated bank account. And you can see here that we have different payment methods. So I've matched PayPal payment method to a bank account in Sage called PayPal, and the Stripe payments to a bank account in Sage called Stripe. So let's just quickly look at that. In Sage, if we go to bank accounts, here's my HSBC 1200 bank account. So there's my actual high street bank account that we're going to reconcile, say, on a daily basis. When our invoices come in, they're going to get paid into PayPal and Stripe. And then what I'm going to do is when I get a settlement for that that daily settlement for those payments, I'm going to do a bank transfer between Stripe and HSBC for the money I've received. The fees that are associated with that settlement I will put through manually as a bank payment. We'll demonstrate that a little later. Okay, so let's click on Save. We can see in the grid that we have these three columns: active, download, and upload. They all have a red cross against them, so they're all inactive. So I'm going to turn these on. You can see when I activate them, it only activates the first two columns. It doesn't activate the upload column. You have to do that manually. So I'm going to say turn upload on. Okay, so another thing to talk about is the service. So I'm going to go up into the top right hand corner here to logs. We're going to become very familiar with logs. It's one of the things that we usually will ask you to look at if you have any issues with the software. There are two logs here. There are the process log and the issues log. And the issues log split into two sections: order issues and synchronization issues. The process log basically tells you what the software is doing. The software operates in a loop. So it will boot up and it will go and do all of the tasks you've told it to do. There could be downloading orders, posting them to Sage, uploading stock levels, checking for new products, etc. And then when it's finished doing all of its tasks for all of its channels, the service reboots, starts back up again, pauses for 1 minute, and then it will start back off again. The issues log will tell you any issues. The synchronization issues gives you a scrollable bar down the right hand side, which we will look at in a moment. Okay, so while we've been chatting, you can see that these orders have started downloading, and that's for the CSV channel, and these are the orders that are coming down from our WooCommerce channel. And then I've just refreshed the screen by clicking on logs again, and then these 10 orders that I've downloaded have started posting to Sage. So let's have a look at these. We've got in the grid, we can filter this grid. So if I just want to see, for example, my WooCommerce sales, just choose that, the other orders disappear. So here are my orders. We can see we've got 10 orders, 8 of them are completed, 2 of them are paid. We have a Y in this message column. So I was relating to that earlier about if there's a message at checkout, and we'll have a look at that. So here we can see the channel number, which is 1161, and that is this order here on our WooCommerce website. And the date the order happened, the channel name, the payment status, the payment method, billing name, shipping name, all of the items that the buyer has purchased. And again, if we look at this customer, same thing, we've got the channel number, the date, the payment method. What you can see here is we've got 2 items here. One is some paper, some printer paper, and one is a laser printer. And you can see the copy paper has a tax value of 0 because that particular item is a non-vatable item. We can also see in this column called Sage Ref, we've got a number here, 109876 and so on. And that is the Sage invoice number. So we pass this information to Sage. Sage allocate the invoice number. That's not something that Tradebox is able to do. It's an internal feature of Sage. And then when Sage creates the invoice, it writes it back to Tradebox, and we save it against the order. And that lets Tradebox understand that that order has been posted to Sage, and it won't post it to Sage a second time. As I mentioned, the shipping tab. So we can see in the shipping tab we now have 2 items, and those are the 2 orders which have a status of paid. And so I can, within here, select these, choose dispatch. They disappear from that grid. If I go back to orders, you can see they've changed to a status of scheduled for dispatch. So Tradebox will communicate with WooCommerce, and it will mark them as dispatched, and these will change to a status of dispatched within Tradebox. Okay, let's go back to Sage and have a look at those invoices. So if we go to the invoice section, click on refresh. Here are the 10 invoices. So let's open up the top one. Okay, so in here we can see we've got the billing address, we've got the 2 items that the buyer purchased with the VAT worked out, and any shipping that's been charged. And also the payment has been allocated to this bank account. So let's go and have a look at the bank. Okay, click on refresh. Okay, so we can see we have a PayPal bank and a Stripe bank, and both of them have values in them. If we look at the activity, we can see the sales receipts for those 3 invoices. And again, with Stripe, if we look at the activity, we've got the sales receipts for those 7 invoices. And so the settlement comes through in, say, 3 or 4 days, depending on your the payment method. And so in terms of accounting for these, let's say we receive £1,000 from Stripe, the remainder being the fees. So effectively what I would do is I would come into Sage, I would choose bank transfer, I would transfer from my Stripe account to my High Street bank, the date that I received the money, the amount of money I received, and click on save. So that puts £1,000 into my HSBC bank account because that's physically what we actually received. And then what I can do in Stripe is come here, choose bank payment, 7604, Stripe fees, and they were £170 and 75 pence with a T9 tax code because they're non-viable. Choose that a T9. Click on save. And so I've accounted for the invoices, which were the sales. I've accounted for the receipt, which we got in terms of our settlement, and I've accounted for the fees. Okay, so that's individual granular accounting. Let me just show you the product section. So in the products, if we just sort by quantity in stock, all of these had 1,000 quantity in stock, and now you can see that these have started to decrement. And if we go back to Tradebox and we look in the logs, I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. We can see the quantity for those items that were adjusted have now been passed back to WooCommerce. And if I have my other channels turned on, it will be passing them back to those channels as well. So that's individual granular accounting, individual invoice for each individual order. If you're doing it with full automation turned on, updating the invoice, etc., with stock upload turned on, you're more or less getting real-time stock control, stock coordination across all of your sales channels. So let's look at summary invoices. So with our TikTok shop account, what we did on our Sage 50, I'll just demonstrate this. We chose summary product invoices. So what Tradebox is going to do, it's going to create me an individual invoice for each payment method, and it's going to summarize it as a product invoice. So it's going to basically look at how many unique products we sold across those, I think it's 30 orders that we've done, and it will summarize them. So first thing I've got to do is create the summary. If we go back to the order list, and let's just have a look at the TikTok shop orders. We can see we've got an invoice in here, nearly one for every day of the month of May. And these are what I'm going to summarize. So rather than having 30 invoices in Sage, I'm going to create the minimum I can. So to do that, I'm going to come to summaries. Let's delete this old summary here. Click on new, choose the channel, and now I've got to choose a date range. So I'm going to say the 1st of the 5th, 2025 to the 31st of the 5th. And then I'm going to exclude any unpaid orders, any orders that are on hold, and any refunds or credit notes. So this goes away and it summarizes all of the orders that belong to the date range that I've set up. If I'm happy with that, I click on Calculate Summary. And then it gives me all of the splits. The reason there are so many splits here is because these are all relate to unique products. And also that unique product, if that product's been shipped to, say, America, it will have a different tax code. So that's also a split. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that, click as mark as summarized. And that gives me a summary here. the 1st of May, the 31st, the total value. Click into that, click on Post to Accounts. It asks me which day I want to use as the invoice date. So I'm going to say the 31st of the 5th, 2025, and click on OK. Okay, so the summaries have been done. I can click on OK now. And if we go back to Sage, go back to our invoice list, just refresh the invoice list. And here we can see we've got a single invoice in the name of TikTok Shop for the full amount. If I open that up, we can see, because I chose a product invoice and not a service invoice, it has each individual product that we've sold across those 30 orders with whatever the quantity was that is combined together, all with different splits for taxation based upon where the order went to. Again, that's been posted to the ledgers, so all of the stock levels that are in that invoice have been adjusted. If we look within the product section, let's refresh that. We can see that these stock levels have gone down much further than they were last time that we looked. And then into the bank account, again, refresh it. And there, under Apple Pay, we have the total amount for that particular order. And in the same way, I would account for that when I got the settlement through by pushing that across to my HSBC bank account. Okay, so other things to cover. In the software, if you need any kind of support, you can contact us by clicking on the Contact Tradebox button. Again, that's going to create you a ticket, fill the ticket out, and it will come straight into our workflow and we can reach back to you. So we've been providing support since 2006 to UK online retailers. Our team's very knowledgeable, very experienced. We're all UK based. The ticket system is important because it allows us to kind of assess the level of impact of the product. One of the things that we will ask you to do is to have a look at the logs. So again, if you've got a problem with Tradebox, typical things is like the software is not downloading your orders or it's not posting to Sage. They are the two most popular tickets that we get, and it's 99% of the time is a very simple reason why they aren't doing that. If you come to logs, go to issues, this screen here, the synchronization issue, if you scroll to the bottom of that, that will 99 times out of 100 tell you what the problem is. Just simply copy that and put it into the ticket, and it will make the resolution so much more quicker. In terms of pricing, if you again come to our website, tradebox.co.uk, there's the pricing link. We don't hide the prices, they're very, very straightforward. Pricing is based upon how many channels you have in the software. So just to go back to Tradebox, these are the channels, and you can see I have 10 channels in this link. So I would require at least the Pro license, which allows me up to 10 channels. That is the only metric that we use. You can have unlimited number of users, unlimited orders. It's just a number of channels. The pricing is, all these prices are excluding VAT, and this is the annual price. All of your support is included within this price. There is an option to have a monthly. The monthly is pro rata more expensive, but you pay it for, you get a 1 month license to use the software. There is also a free trial, and we would really highly recommend that you sit the free trial. To get started, I mean, you can click on the try for free button and fill out the form. Or another way to do this more directly, if you come to Tradebox and click on support, there's a set of integration guides and getting started. This article here, getting started with Tradebox 1, that will give you a full set of step-by-step instructions on what you need to do. And we're going to create more videos to help and assist you to do that. Alternatively, if you want assistance to do that, you can click on book a demo /onboarding. And that takes you to our site. You choose the day that you want. So for example, if I was doing it next week, choose a slot and book in. Currently, the onboarding is free, but that's subject to change in the future. I hope this has answered all of your questions. If you do have any questions, please click on the contact button and we will get in contact with you. We can have a one-to-one conversation over the phone and answer any questions that you may have.